As the Oregon legislature begins its 2025 session, their decisions and the money trickle down to the counties and cities of Oregon. 26 mayors in the Portland metro area coming together, laying out their agenda for 2025. And two of those mayors are in studio today, Beaverton Mayor Lacey Beatty and Lake Oswego Mayor Joe Buck, who are leading the Metro Mayors Consortium. Welcome both of you to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks, Ken. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Why a Mayors Consortium?
Like you said, well, kind of like what you said, we hope some of that money from the states flow to cities and counties. And so we have to have an ever presence for all levels of government to make sure that cities' interests are represented. You know, under Measure 5 and 50, the property tax laws that set property taxes for cities, we only can grow 3% per year. It's making it so much harder for us to deliver everyday services for the people that vote for us. So when we're in Salem, we're often talking about things like transportation and housing because it's the bread and butter that cities do, yet we're not really fully funded to be able to deliver those resources. So we needed to come together to make sure that our voices were heard in Salem.
Well, the Oregon legislature did begin work on Tuesday. Housing, homelessness at the top of their agenda. Is it at the top of yours as well?
Absolutely. In addition to transportation, mental and behavioral health, I mean, these are all the issues that impact every community throughout Oregon, and they're obviously top priorities for the mayors. You know, mayors throughout Oregon, we represent big cities like Beaverton and smaller cities, you know, like Lake Oswego, and of course even smaller cities yet so. And it's important that mayors leverage each other and come together as a group to expand their voice, because we're all, most of us are just volunteers, you know, and we work regular jobs outside of serving as volunteer mayors of our cities. And so by coming together, we can expand our voice and make sure that the voices of our communities are well represented.
We had Metro Council President Lynn Peterson on this program last week, and she's proposing changes to the Metro Supportive Housing Services tax. It will allow Metro to buy or build housing directly instead of passing all that money through the counties. So here's what she said last week to us, and I want you to react to it.
A lot of good has been done, but at the same time, not enough is happening. And I think that while we all have empathy, we are all, including me, a little impatient about even more being done.
What's your take on that and the Metro Housing Supportive Services tax in general?
Well, I don't think we disagree that not enough housing is being built, but cities have been very honest, both with President Peterson and everyone else, that cities can't afford to build more affordable housing. We're going to need more than just the SHS fund. And that fund is incredibly important when it comes to delivering services that we told voters we were going to do around homeless services. And we still haven't really done what voters have asked us to do. So to move that money into housing right now is really not the starting point for mayors, because we've been honest. And to make affordable housing work, it takes a lot from cities. We have to often buy down the property. We have to bridge loan to organizations. We have to give up our system development charges, which is one of the only ways cities that build infrastructure. And it takes a lot of resources on library and police and everything else. So yeah, we want more housing. We want more affordable housing. It's not like we're not doing the work to get us there, but we need more than just this fund to do it, which is why we're going to Salem, which is why we've been talking to the governor. And we're the level of government that delivers these services.
What's the situation in both of your cities with housing and the use of that housing services tax?
Well, to kind of lay it out, you know, Metro passed the Affordable Housing Bond back in 2018, and that's what funded the actual help to fund the construction of housing. But like Mayor Beatty said, that was just a piece of the funding that was needed to build this housing. So cities also contributed many resources to state and also, you know, federal government through tax credits and whatnot. So it takes a whole mix of different funding sources to be able to build affordable housing. Supportive Housing Services tax is now what's working to fund the services that are provided to residents who come and live in those housing developments that the housing bond built. And so in our cities, that's anything from that's rent assistance for people, that's eviction protection, and there's also these permanent supportive housing units. So these are people who may be coming out of homelessness, very high need residents that have on-site support, and Supportive Housing Services tax funds that on-site support. As these housing units, so this is all new to the region. So whereas affordable housing used to be concentrated in the region, now it's spread throughout every community throughout the region, which is great. That's the kind of geographic parity that we wanted throughout the region to make sure that people who become homeless can stay in their communities. But now we're learning and trying to better understand what level of support is necessary to make sure we don't just have four walls around people, but we're providing them the skills and services they need to actually thrive in those environments. And that is something we're just starting to understand. So the cities and the counties are a little startled with Metro's proposal to divert some of that money while we're still learning how to best serve the residents that we all agreed needed the most support.
Another big item in the legislative session, a possible $5 billion transportation package to fix roads, bridges, and infrastructure in the state. How invested are you in that, and what's your interest there?
I mean, we're incredibly invested in that. Where do people drive through cities and counties in this state to get where we need to go? But a lot of cities like mine have state highways that run through them that have been underserviced for decades. And so we can barely maintain the roads that we have. And in Beaverton, we have over 250 miles of road that need to be maintained. Just putting that top level of asphalt on can extend a road by 10 to 20 years. And so keeping up with those kind of services are incredibly important. And that we're just talking about maintaining. We haven't even really started talking about what we would like our cities to look like in the future. So we're fighting tooth and nail just to make sure that we have the resources to maintain the largest investments that cities have.
Yeah. How much of a presence will the consortium have at the legislature, and what will that look like?
Well, the consortium, during the legislative session, we get together every week, our team, and we get updated on how the legislature is progressing, and then we'll be down in the offices of legislatures advocating our agenda. And so you mentioned transportation is a huge issue this session, as is housing and homelessness, mental and behavioral health, and a lot of these systems fit together. You know, housing and homelessness especially, and mental health, and the mental health system in Oregon is really abysmal. And it's good to hear our governor voicing support for it in her State of the State address, but our governor has also been in charge in this state in many ways for many years, and also needs to take accountability and responsibility for the reason why the system is the way it is now. You know, providers years back said the state needs to really enhance and redo its mental health system by providing more community mental health, because everyone was being shifted either down to the state hospital in Salem or to the now closed hospital in Wilsonville. So it's heartening, you know, to hear these promises being made, but I think we're all looking to see actual action that's responsive to the needs of the people who are serving these residents. And I think that's where the mayors, you know, come from, is that we are on the ground serving these actual residents, and we're really hopeful that the legislature will be responsive to the perspectives that we're bringing to the table.
We've only got about a minute left, and I just want to point out that your two cities are quite different. According to the U.S. Census, July of 2024 numbers, Beaverton's median household income was about $94,000. In Lake Oswego, that same number, about $140,000. So doesn't that change the issues and priorities for each of your cities and other cities in the consortium?
No. I think almost all of our issues boil down to the same thing: being able to afford to live in our city, being able to get the transportation that you need, and being able to thrive. And so our schools, our streets, our city halls depend on our abilities to work together. And just so our viewers know, we take our work in the consortium seriously. 2/3 of us have to agree to take on a topic, and we have Democrat, Republican, and independent mayors, and we all work together. So if we show up talking about an issue, it impacts every city in the region.
That's right. And it doesn't matter what your income level is or how much you pay in taxes. Every resident deserves to have these basic services provided to them in an equitable way and to have equal access.
Mayor Buck, Mayor Beatty, thank you very much for being on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Good luck in Salem as well.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.